Oh, hi everybody. Ezra Levant here. It is the last day of March, I think, unless we're going to March 32nd this year. And this is my daily 12 noon Eastern time coronavirus pandemic chat. It's what YouTube calls a super chat, which means that you can make your comments super by chipping in a few bucks or whatever currency you're working in. And it makes your comment highlighted so I can see it out of the corner of my eye. And I do my best to read all the super chats. And the bonus for us is that YouTube lets us keep 70% of the super chat dough. So in these tough times, it helps us stay strong, and I appreciate that. I should say that we just passed a milestone on our crowdfunding campaign. Can you go to helprebelnews.com? I don't know how we're going to do in the months ahead because there we go. So we just passed our $100,000 mark and now we're aiming for 125. Why are we raising money? Because I don't know how we're going to do in the weeks and months ahead. And why is that? Thanks. Because we are 100% user funded. So, for example, the CBC gets their $1.5 billion a year from Justin Trudeau, whether or not they do good work. Their first reaction to the virus was to shut down all their local newscasts. What? Well, yeah, because why not? They get paid anyways. We can't do that. We have to work. And we're working in a smart way. In fact, there's only 4 or 5 of us who come into the main office every day. Everyone else works from home by remote, which is easy enough to do. But we make our money in several different ways. One is through our paywall, people who spend $8 a month subscribing to our Rebel News Plus shows. That's my daily 8 p.m. show. Sheila Gunn-Reid has a weekly show. David Menzies has a weekly show. So $8 a month. And then crowdfunding is another part of that because we really don't get a lot of dough from ads. So I guess the third leg of the stool, the first is the paywall, the second is the crowdfunding, ads is negligible, is events. Now we had a cruise scheduled for this summer sailing out of Vancouver up to Alaska. That's canceled, obviously. Those cruises make up to $100,000 for us to pay our bills, to pay our staff. They're fun, they're super fun. Events. We had 14 events last year across Canada from Ottawa, a bunch in Toronto, Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, Red Deer, Innisfail, Vancouver, Victoria, Nanaimo. I'm trying to think where we went in Saskatchewan. Forgive me, I can't remember which city we went to. But we have to cancel all our live events. Those are fundraising events. So that's what our crowdfunding is. Anyways, let me get to the news you want to hear instead of the news about us. And by the way, thanks, Mr. Big Canuck, for chipping in. Anyhow, that's just. I just wanted to mention that's what helprebelnews.com is about. It's about us saying to our viewers, hey, if you like the kind of stuff we're doing, please chip in because we don't get paid if you don't help us, because we're not like the CBC. Okay, thanks for letting me mention that. But let me tell you one of the things we're doing that the $1.5 billion a year CBC is not doing. We're fact-checking Justin Trudeau on his promises for the virus. So for example, we were told that there was enhanced screening at airports for foreign arrivals. That's not true. We were told that foreign arrivals at our airports were being subject to a 14-day mandatory quarantine. No one's telling them that. We were told that people landing on foreign flights to Canada who then get on domestic connections, so you fly from Beijing to Vancouver, let's say, and then you fly on from Vancouver to Toronto, that you were given a mask to wear. That's not happening. And the way I know that is not through some sort of intuition, but rather sending our reporters to the airport every day. And I'd like to show you David Menzies, who went to Toronto Pearson Airport yesterday and I'm trying to remember where this foreign flight came in. I think this flight was from London. There's still flights coming in from China. Frankfurt, Amsterdam, Hong Kong. So here's a flight that David went to from London. How long's the whole clip? Okay, let's play the clip, and then I'd like to play more of it because it's really good. So here's the clip, and then get and then I'll chat for a bit, and then get the whole vid. Take a look.
I'm just asking people, sir, did you notice any special screening at customs?
Not at all.
Nothing special per se. We did get some reading material and recommendations to maintain self-isolation.
And did customs agents verbally tell you about the self-isolation and the quarantine rules?
No, just the cards that they gave out that we've got to read and see what we've got to do, yeah.
And did the customs officers, did they say any special instructions to you?
No.
You can't even stop for gas or groceries on the way home. Did anyone tell you that?
They not specifically.
Did they verbally tell you about the quarantine rules, or they just gave you a pamphlet?
I think it was just with the pamphlets that they handed out here.
Well, so David came back from the airport, and Justin, please find the larger tape. And he brought me pamphlets, and I have a pamphlet here en français, au sujet de la maladie à coronavirus. How's that for French? This one is in Chinese, looks like. This one's in Italian. Informazione sul coronavirus. This one's in Spanish. This one's in German. This one's in Korean. This one's in Arabic or Farsi. This is Farsi. That's the Persian language. This is in Tamil. This is in Portuguese. Can you grab, I tweeted it yesterday. I think I left it outside there. The English version of this. And just put it up on the screen. It's from my Twitter feed. I would have tweeted this last night. So these are a bunch of different languages. I'm thinking, oh, good. Now, can you zoom in on that a bit? So this is, what Justin's about to show you is the English version of this. I just don't have it in the pile in front of me. Yeah, can you zoom in a little closer? About coronavirus. What it is, it's caused by a virus, how it is spread, respiratory droplets when you cough or sneeze, close personal contact, touching and shaking hands, touching something with the virus. If you have symptoms, stay at home, call ahead before going to a health professional. If you need emergency attention, call 911. And then scroll up a bit, let me just read from the right-hand side. Symptoms. Symptoms are fever, cough, difficulty breathing. Prevention. The best way to prevent the spread is wash your hands, avoid touching your eyes, avoid close contact when coughing. Stay at home if you are sick to avoid spreading. For more information, go to the website. So that's, sorry I don't have that in my hand, but you can see the close-up there. That is the English version of these foreign language pamphlets. Some of these foreign language pamphlets are printed on both sides. Some are not. David just brought them home for me. Now, what you'll notice, and the reason I read that English is I don't want to rely on my very weak Italian or French. You'll notice the word quarantine is not on there. You'll notice it doesn't say go straight home from the airport. Those are generic coronavirus FYIs. You know, here's the one in Portuguese. Fever, coughing, difficult breathing. There's no action items, and on the back it's just the same thing. So there is no instruction on what to do. It's just, hey guys, let me give you a little public service announcement about what the virus is, and then a phone number if you want more information. So if this is the pamphlet they're getting, because this is what David brought back. David brought back this swath of pamphlets from the airport. He just came straight from the airport and he gave me these. And my first reaction was, oh, good, finally, they're doing things and not just in English. Because if you're on Hainan Airlines, maybe you speak English, you probably don't speak French, but you for sure speak Chinese. So there is a Chinese language one. I think this is Chinese language. Yeah, I'm guessing, first of all, everyone in China already knows what the virus is. Fever, coughing, respiratory problems. But this does not tell you what to do. This does not tell you what to do. It has a phone number and an English email to learn more, but it doesn't tell you what to do. Can you play, in just 1 second I'm going to play, but I saw some super chats come in, so let me just give a shout out to those. Bob the Monk, $20. Always do the opposite of what the Soros-funded globalists tell you to do. Well, that's a good rule of thumb. My friend Vezo has a very friendly $70 contribution and a gift there. Thanks, Vez. I mentioned Mr. Big Canuck, and I think I'm caught up just in a minute. Okay, so David was at the airport, and it's sort of funny, he attached his microphone to a hockey stick so he doesn't get too close to people. I showed you a 45-second excerpt. Here's the full video, because he asked a lot of good questions. Take a look.
Wednesdays for Rebel News here at Toronto's Pearson International Airport. Well, folks, I'm back again to fact-check the government on what it's telling Canadians vis-a-vis airline passengers and the coronavirus. Now, you would think surely by now there'd be enhanced security measures, but as I've seen from numerous arrivals from Pakistan to China, no, they're simply handed pamphlets to read. And also, we were told last week by the Health Minister, Patricia Hadjiu, that asymptomatic passengers would be given face masks like the one I'm wearing. And when we asked passengers on Friday about that, they didn't see a single arrival being given a mask. So here I am on Monday afternoon. The flight from London Heathrow is early. Most flights are early. That's the silver lining of the coronavirus. There's no traffic, hardly any traffic in the air or on the ground. And I'm going to interview these passengers and find out if anything is being done differently. And also, is anyone really being given these masks by the border agents? Because I thought we gave the whole lock, stock, and barrel to China more than a month ago. Well, let's find out. Oh, excuse me, miss. Hi. Did you just get off the flight from London?
Yes.
And I was just asking people if they went through any kind of special screening when they were going through security.
No screening.
No?
No. They just asked if you were feeling unwell, but other than that, yeah.
Gave me 2 letters. Well, to stay indoors for 2 weeks.
And
So
did they verbally tell you anything special?
no, they just said stay home for 2 weeks.
No, not really. No, we were handed out leaflets to say about self-isolation, but that was about it.
I'm just asking people, sir, did you notice any special screening at customs?
Not at all.
Nothing special per se. We did get some reading material and recommendations to maintain self-isolation.
No, not any screening. Well, it's it's slow and they have the distance and all that. That is good.
And did customs agents verbally tell you about the self-isolation and the quarantine rules?
No, just the cards that they gave out that we've got to read and see what we've got to do, yeah.
And did the customs officers, did they say any special instructions to you?
No.
You can't even stop for gas or groceries on the way home. Did anyone tell you that?
Not specifically.
Did they verbally tell you about the quarantine rules, or they just gave you a pamphlet?
I think it was just with the pamphlets that they handed out here.
Did anyone take your temperature?
I don't think so, because I don't know if they did it with for distance. I've seen them do that.
Did they do anything special, like take your temperature remotely?
No.
No, I was surprised actually. But if there's is the airport closing down? Do you think?
No, not at all. No. No, either end, London or here.
Did you notice if anyone remotely took your temperature, perhaps?
Not at all.
Oh no, no. Well, I feel good, no problem. My immune system is top notch.
Did you notice if anyone took your temperature or not?
No.
No.
And did you notice if anyone took your temperature remotely?
Nope.
Were you expecting more enhanced security than what you saw today?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, there was not a lot going on. So, yeah, I thought there was more.
Also, ma'am, last week our health minister, Patricia Hadju, she said that asymptomatic passengers would be handed out a mask like the one I'm wearing going through customs. Did you see anyone being given a mask today?
No, no, not at all.
Did you see any evidence there were masks to give out to people?
No.
Nobody. No, and I don't think enough people were wearing them, but do they do anything? England, they say no.
Did you see anyone being given a mask?
Do you see me wearing a mask? No one got masks. No.
No, I even ask if there's mask around, and they say no, we don't provide that.
And were they handing out masks to anybody at all, or
Nope.
were you offered a mask, or did you see anyone given a mask?
No.
Nothing like that.
No.
No.
Okay, then.
No. No. I brought my own. Yeah, I had a few, but yeah, they didn't give us any.
Did you see any evidence that they had masks to hand out to people?
No, not that I'm aware of. I didn't see like a station or anything. Yeah.
Well, there you have it, folks. Even though the number of coronavirus cases rate rises on a daily basis, it's the same old at the airport. I mean, well, actually, to be fair, I took a look at some of the pamphlets being distributed, and last week I could only find those written in English and French. I'm happy to report that in addition to English and French, they have pamphlets written in 7 other languages. Hopefully the arrivals read those pamphlets, because as you saw with the interviews, many of the people were not given verbal instructions whatsoever. They were just told to read their homework. And secondly, not a single person was observed being given a mask by customs agents. In fact, no one even saw this supply of masks. That's because I think these masks are like unicorns. They just don't exist here. Despite what the health minister said, there are no masks to give, probably because we already gave them all to China several weeks ago. In the meantime, I'll continue coming back to the airport in the days ahead, seeing if anything is being done to protect the safety of the Canadian public. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies.
He's doing a good job. So, like I said, David was there, he was interviewing people, and he picked up these brochures and he brought them home, back to the office. And I just want to be crystal clear. These do not tell people what to do. These are general informational brochures about the virus. The very last line on this pamphlet, if anyone even reads them, is restare a casa con se il malattie evitare di diffondere la malattia al altri. Forgive me, I won't do that anymore. That was me trying to read the Italian. That basically means if you're sick, rest at your house to avoid infecting other people. That's good advice. But that's the very last item, and it's just, hey guys, our tips for you include, there's no information that there is a mandatory quarantine. There's no, I mean, you heard Trudeau the other day, he said, don't go for groceries, don't go for gas, you must go home. That's not what this says. This says, hey guys, if you want some tips on what to do, just stay home. There's no instruction here whatsoever. The whole thing is simply an informational brochure, and as you could see, the people that David spoke with hadn't even read it. You get a brochure, you get a big brochure like this, do you even read it? And that's, if you even pick it up, most people coming through customs, they have a touch screen. Would you want to use a touch screen these days? And if I'm not mistaken, like I haven't flown in 2 weeks, but last I saw a touch screen, it was in English and French only. And they had just questions, have you been to this particular province in China? or Italy or Iran. That's what it was asked when I last flew. And then there was a question, do you have these symptoms? And that's it. And it was only in English and French. I see some more super chats. Jason Johnson chips in $2. Thank you very much for that. If I've missed some, Justin, send it to me. Now, I literally, while I was sitting here, I got an alert on my phone. Justin, did you get that when I flipped it to you? Okay, so a website I go to a lot these days is a flight tracking website called Flight Aware. Because I know it's hard to believe that Canada is still allowing direct flights from communist China, direct to Canada. I have to tell you, I'm not worried about flights from Taiwan. I think Taiwan is the safest place in the world right now. Only 5 deaths in the whole country. Schools open, restaurants open. Everyone wears a mask. They have a mask rationing system. You pick it up at your pharmacy like getting a prescription. You just go in once a week. They give you a little envelope full of masks. No one's allowed to hoard them. They're making 10 million masks a day. It's amazing. I'm really jealous. And I think, as we discussed at some length yesterday, the reason they can do that is because they were kicked out of the UN, essentially, so they don't buy the BS from the World Health Organization. They have to think for themselves. So I'm not worried about flights from Taipei. I'm not even really that worried about flights from Hong Kong, to be honest, or Singapore. I'm worried about flights from mainland China. And can you go to, so here we go. So Chengdu, that's actually historically in Tibet. I've been to Chengdu myself. So you can see this is Sichuan Airlines, flight 8501. Just scroll to the very, very top of this for a second, very top, so people can see this website is called Flight Aware. It's very easy to find. Literally any flight in the world, any commercial airline, and many private jets, you just type in the tail number or the flight number and it gives you the info. So Sichuan Airlines 8501 is en route from Chengdu, China to Vancouver. And it will land in Vancouver tonight at 11 p.m. Pacific time. As you can see, it's going to be almost 2 hours late. So it just took off 23 minutes ago. And the reason I know that is, like I said, I just got an alert. So that's a very, very long flight. It's a 14-hour flight. Because show the map for a second. Go down. So that's, and you can zoom in just a little bit there. That's a long flight. That's longer than from Beijing or Shanghai or Hong Kong, I think. Very long flight. So I'm going to guess, before even checking, that that's a 777 extended range aircraft. Oh, it's an Airbus 330, A333. So click on. So there we see it. Yeah. Click on the image. So that's the plane. I was wrong. I thought it was an extended range Boeing, but it's an Airbus. So click back and click that yellow bar, if you would be so kind. So let's see what it says. Go down. Or is that just reloads the whole thing? Okay, so there we have it. Can you? I want to find out the exact description of the airplane. So that yellow bar will probably tell us if you click it. Yeah, Airbus. So yeah. Oh, sorry. It highlighted it when you just hovered there. Airbus 330-300. Can you just Google that? I want to learn how many people are on that plane. An Airbus 330-300. Sorry to make you hustle. I just want to learn a tiny bit more about the plane. Is this like, are there 100 people on it? Are there 200? Are there 300 people? I just don't know off by heart. Now, there's all sorts of different modifications. I bet there's 250 passenger capacity on this plane. 250 to 450. It depends on the configuration. I'm guessing it's closer to the 250 side, and the plane might not be full. But did you know? Yeah, thank you very much. So, yeah, depending on the configuration. So the smallest version, if I'm reading this correctly, is 250 people, and the largest version, where everyone's just crammed in, is 440 passengers. I'm guessing that the international routes are not everyone jammed in. That sounds like a shorter domestic commuter flight. I'm guessing the longer flights have a little more spaced out. So there could be 250 people on this plane going from Chengdu to Vancouver, and it's going to land tonight at 11 p.m. in Vancouver. And they will be handed a form. Here's the Farsi one. Let me find the Chinese one. That's the Korean one. They'll be handed this form, nothing on the back, and it'll tell them what they already know. If you got a fever, cough, or respiratory problems, you may have the virus. Yeah, they know that. But it does not tell them to quarantine. This doesn't say, I know that because I showed you earlier the English translation. They will not be given a face mask if they have a connecting flight. They will not be told to go straight home to quarantine. They just won't. They just simply won't because they haven't done so. And I guess what I'm saying is every single day, Justin Trudeau, who's in self-hiding, I'm sorry, it's not a self-isolation or self-quarantine. He doesn't have the bug. He doesn't have the bug. He just doesn't like going to work. So we're still bringing it in. I think that's amazing. Now, Justin, you have a note for me here. We have a CBC clip on the masks. What's that about?
They talk about if they're useful or not.
Okay.
And they kind of end with not really, but they aren't that bad about it.
Okay, so here's the CBC with their opinion on whether or not we need masks. Take a listen.
As a push for masks for all takes hold, led by the Czech Republic, where it's mandatory.
I protect you, you protect me.
And being credited with helping to flatten the curve there. Austria is now forcing grocery shoppers to wear them, and a Toronto hospital also put a call out for locals to help sew masks, even though the medical evidence that they work is mixed. Still, some say, why not just try it?
In high-risk situations nowadays, repatriation flights, perhaps grocery stores or busier areas, maybe that's the way that we should be heading.
A research team at Oxford looked at how every country is using masks and says COVID-19 is an unusual case where masks can help because people who don't show symptoms can also be highly contagious.
If the supply permits, if everyone wears face masks, it could also be helpful to control the disease spread.
And yet the message in Canada is consistent. Don't bother.
I would prefer that people kept the 2 meters as compared to the mask.
You're not sick. You're going outside. You don't need a mask. Please, wash your hands.
The main concern is supply, with healthcare workers the priority. But there's another factor. Masks don't cover your eyes or other vulnerable areas.
And that gives you a full sense of confidence, but also it increases the touching of your face.
The conclusion here, for now, wash your hands instead. Masks aren't worth it and could make matters worse. Salima Shivji.
Masks aren't worth it? So there's 2 messages there. Every single doctor is wearing a mask. Every single one. And you saw there was one tweet there that was very interesting. Hospitals calling for people to sew to make the masks. That's how desperate they are for masks. But you should not have a mask because you're just you. Do we have the latest Dr. Tam on masks? Theresa Tam? Okay, yeah. So here she is. And listen to this. And let me ask you a question before you do. And you can see that the CBC state broadcaster, their messaging is identical to Trudeau's health officer. They can't really come right out and say masks are bad because that's so stupid and counterintuitive. It would shatter what remaining trust we have in our authorities and institutions. What they're really doing is buying time till we can find masks or make masks, because Trudeau sent our mask stockpile to China on February 9th. So here's Dr. Tam and I'll give you my thoughts on her verbiage. Take a quick look.
Is Canada not telling the public to wear masks because we're worried about a shortage and we want to make sure that doctors and other frontline people have them?
I think there's two separate reasons. I think for sure, absolutely, we want to protect our frontline healthcare workers, and prioritizing supply in that setting is critically important. And we're looking at all sorts of different avenues to procure. For the public, I think the current scientific evidence we are continuing to evaluate. Of course, we can be flexible if we find any new evidence. But I think the scientific evidence is that if you are sick, then put on a mask to prevent those droplets from flying, in any space as you're perhaps going to a clinic or having to move yourself around the community for essential needs. Putting a mask on an asymptomatic person is not beneficial, obviously, if you're not infected. If you're close contact of a case, and under certain circumstances, especially, you'll also be in self-isolation, by the way, if you're close contact of a case, and you also need to move for any essential reason. That's perhaps another situation. What we worry about is actually the potential negative aspects of wearing masks, where people are not protecting their eyes or other aspects of where the virus could enter your body, and that gives you a false sense of confidence. But also, it increases the touching of your face. If you think about it, if you got a mask around your face, sometimes you can't help it because you're just touching parts of your face. The other thing is the outside of the mask could be contaminated as well. So the key is hand washing, absolutely, for sure. It doesn't matter what you're doing, hand washing is really key. When you're removing a mask, in numerous infectious diseases, even in the hospital setting, we find that it's removing personal protective equipment that can actually lead to infections. So if people try to use these measures, they have to be really, really careful and wash their hands. Absolutely, that's the key. So we're also worried about the negative, potentially negative impacts.
What a deceiver. Watching that clip tells me uncontrovertibly that you simply cannot trust a word she says. There was one line in there in particular. First of all, she said she's prioritizing masks. It's critically important for doctors, nurses, and healthcare people. So masks are critically important for them, but not for you? There was a line there, and I don't know if you can zero right in on it, Justin, where she says, masks are not necessary. There's this amazing line, she says, for people who are asymptomatic. That means who don't have any symptoms, but we know that's not true because you can have no symptoms but have the virus in you for 2 weeks before your symptoms manifest. So then she tacks on asymptomatic, obviously, if you are not infected. So she's saying masks don't work if you're asymptomatic and not infected. Right. But we don't know because there's no testing in Canada. You can't get a test unless you're a celebrity or Justin Trudeau's wife. So for the 2 weeks that we may be carrying the virus without knowing it, the mask obviously works, but you see her verbal trickery there. Let me know if you can zero in. Okay. It was about 2/3 of the way through. Why don't you try it again? Let's zoom it in, where she says, if you're asymptomatic, obviously if you're not infected.
Asymptomatic person is not beneficial, obviously, if you're not infected. If you're close contact of a case.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's exactly the clip. Well, the thing is, if you're asymptomatic, you don't know if you have it. That's the whole point. That's why we all want to wear it. Not just to perhaps not get bugs from someone else, but if we are carrying, that's the whole point. And then she goes on and on and on about how masks are bad because your mask might have stopped it and you have to wash it. So she comes up with 5 fake reasons why masks are bad. But on the key question, don't masks work? Precisely because people who don't know they're sick keep their spit and spray in? To which she says, well, if you don't have symptoms and are not infected, there's no point. Yeah, sister, those aren't the people we're worried about. But remember the very first question to which she gave her non-answer. Can you play that clip from the very beginning so we see the question?
Is Canada not telling the public to wear masks because we're worried about a shortage and we want to make sure that doctors and other frontline people have them?
So she did not answer that, did she? She said, oh, it's critical for frontline people. But you public, you're too stupid to know how to use a mask. And by the way, if you don't have symptoms because you're not infected, you don't need it. So she did not answer the question. She gave a contradictory answer that it's critical, her words, for medical staff, but you're too stupid to use it. It's not critical for you. They're actually dangerous for you. And the biggest lie in there is if you're asymptomatic but not infected, it's of no use to you. Yes, we know, but because we if that's the case, that's why ubiquitous masks work. So you see in harmony here, Trudeau's hand-picked health officer plus Trudeau's CBC state broadcaster colluding in the lie that we don't have masks. Can you call up the press release of February 9th, I believe, where Justin Trudeau sent our entire mask stockpile to China as a fool's gift? For free. He didn't even sell it. He just gave it to them because, of course, China is very, very poor, I hear. I hear they don't have $2 trillion in foreign reserves. I hear that they can't afford it, so they need foreign aid from Canada. Unbelievable. So when you give away your national stockpile of masks to China, and then no one can get a mask, and hospitals are literally, there we go, look at the date there, February 9th, Canada supports China's ongoing response to coronavirus outbreak. Canada is working with its partners and international organizations to control the spread of the novel coronavirus. This is vital to helping those affected and protecting the health and safety of people around the world, but not so much in Canada. To support China's ongoing response to the outbreak, Canada has deployed approximately 16 tons of personal protective equipment, such as clothing, face shields, masks, goggles, and gloves to the country since February 4th. And then look at François-Philippe Champagne, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Our deepest thoughts are with those affected by this outbreak. We continue to monitor the situation and stand ready to provide further assistance as needed. Further assistance to who, François-Philippe? To China? Who's going to provide further assistance to Canadians? And you just thought you would give this grand gesture, thanks, to China while they have 2 Canadian hostages. They got our hostages and you just ship them our entire stockpile of masks. Just 'cause. And you remain on guard to help Chinese citizens, but not Canadian citizens. Was that approved by Theresa Tam? Did she know that they were sending our whole stockpile? I bet she would approve it retrospectively because she certainly cares about her own job. Let's read some more super chats. If you want to put them in an email to me, I'll read those. Let me just see. Proud Boys Calgary, $5. Each reason given for why masks are bad is solved by washing your hands at each instance. Soap destroys the lipid layer of a virus and kills it. Well, one of her excuses was, well, mask, what about goggles? Okay, sure. Yeah, how about those too? But saying masks are bad is so obviously false and disingenuous. How could anyone trust her? InfMBA, $10. Hi, Ezra, making predictions are hard, especially at the future. YB. However, I see a cushy UN World Health Organization job in her future. Stay safe and thank you. I'm not asking her to make predictions, although I would like to see her models. What's her graph look like? Have they released? We just had a quick battery change on the fly. That's like those Formula One cars. They get their tires changed, their window washed, and I could use a haircut too, let's be honest. Thank you, Justin, for rushing in with the batteries. Yeah, I'm not looking for Theresa Tam to predict the future, although I would like to see her predictions for the future. I would like her to speak honestly about masks and stop lying just to cover up for Trudeau's absurd decisions. Daniel Grant, $2. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I think I've caught up on Super Chats. Justin, if I've missed some, feel free to... okay, I'll just check those emails. Now, you have a Biden clip. Is that a new one, or is that the one I sent over yesterday? Let's take a look at the Biden clip. It's just... You know, the idea that Biden is going to be the candidate, I find it increasingly hard to credit that. I just do not believe that the Democratic Party will size up Joe Biden and say he can beat Trump. I just think they're terrified and are going to find some other option. Here he is at home, no stress, no demands on him, and let's see if he can handle just saying some basic sentences. Take a look.
And in order to avoid those very high numbers, we have to do at least several things. One, we have to depend on what the president's going to do right now. And first of all, he has to wait till the cases before anything happens. Look, the whole idea is he's got to get in place things that were shortages of.
Pardon? I don't really understand that. Okay, I'm going to read some more Super Chats. David Wilson, $15. What happens next week when the new system crashes and no checks are dispersed? I'm not sure what new system you mean. Is there some new government system? Because I know a lot of Service Canada employees have decided they just don't want to work anymore. They want to be paid, but they don't want to work. Xanatos Wolf, $5. If this pandemic proved anything, it's that trendies, two-faced politicians, and forgotten actors can turn anything into a desperate grab for attention. Yeah, you know what I was thinking about that Gal Gadot video where they all sang Imagine into the camera. And the main thing I took away from it was, wow, are the beautiful people ever dependent on makeup artists to come across as beautiful people? Like they need wardrobe and makeup and mainly script writers, and in the case of some of them, voice coaches. Without that, they're really, there's a severe lack of talent amongst our talent class in Hollywood. That's what I felt. That was awful. I think I caught up there. Let me see. I have one more email here. Brian Shea, $10. Thank you. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, $50. Ezra, do any government officials or media party reporters approach you off the record and express their concerns or displeasure with the current Liberal government or the state broadcaster? Not really. Not really. I mean, I have some friends in the mainstream media. I wouldn't call them in the media party, but of course I do have friends in various newspapers and networks. I'm just trying to think of the last conversation I had with one guy, and frankly, his thoughts were about the survival of the company because media are shutting down across Canada, as other businesses are. As you know, 250 journalists were laid off in Atlantic Canada by a company called Saltwire. They published the Halifax Chronicle, Herald, and other papers out there. So there's only 4 daily newspapers in the Atlantic now. And what gets me about that, and I'm sorry that people are losing their jobs, is that they took millions from Trudeau's media bailouts, but they shut down anyways. What's the point? I showed you Biden. Can you call up a vid, not the latest one about the cooking pasta sauce, tomato sauce. Can you call up a vid about 10 days ago of Andrew Cuomo and Chris Cuomo bantering about who mom loved more? That was pretty funny. So anyways, Andrew Cuomo, who is the governor of New York State, and the son of Mario Cuomo, the former governor of New York State. Andrew Cuomo has worked fairly productively with Donald Trump. And I think both men would say that, both Trump and Cuomo. And one of the results of that is that a mighty U.S. Navy hospital ship arrived yesterday in New York, beating all the skeptics in terms of its arrival date. So that's, I think, 1,100 beds, if my memory is correct, of a hospital ship. Now, it's not ready to handle the virus, but as we mentioned the other day, it'll relieve regular patients. There's, I think, a dozen operating rooms on the ship. So they can do real hospital work on this ship to help empty out New York's hospitals. And now, last I checked, there were only about 1,000 virus cases in ICU, intensive care units in New York City. Now, that sounds like a huge number, 1,000, but in the city of New York, what, 8, 10 million people, whatever the number is, some of the finest hospitals in the world. 1,000 people in ICU is not an overwhelming number. I'm not downplaying that it is a serious number, but by no means are they overtaxed. And in addition to that hospital ship, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has turned the Javits Convention Center into another 1,000-bed hospital. And I think there's 3 other facilities that are doing that too. So they're really building capacity for when things get bad, if they get bad, God forbid. So there's a rapport between Cuomo and Trump, and they fight against each other in a partisan way, but they also know each other because they're both New Yorkers, right? One thing I've enjoyed seeing Andrew Cuomo talk because he doesn't sound like a madman. He doesn't sound like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, also from New York. He certainly doesn't sound like Nancy Pelosi of San Francisco. He sounds like a guy who's got the most cases in America and is trying to fix it because he has a sense of public service. Let's grant him that. He's from a family that serves. He served, I think, under the Obama administration, or maybe the Clinton administration. I think he was the head of Health and Human Services or something like that. So he's actually served, I think he was in cabinet. So the guy knows how to do things. And he doesn't want this to be a failure on his watch. Now, the mayor of New York, Bill de Blasio, is a total fool. By the way, an outright communist who traveled to Nicaragua, if I'm not mistaken, just like Bernie Sanders. Like, he's just a fool and an idiot, Bill de Blasio. But I think Andrew Cuomo has said, well, we've got a real problem here, and I actually have to work at it. He said some very kind things about Trump. In fact, just yesterday, when the Navy ship arrived in New York's port, he personally thanked President Trump in a very genuine and not half-hearted way. And I think he means it. I'm sure he'll go back to fighting Trump tooth and nail when this is over. But for now, I think he's a rare Democrat who says, okay, we got a problem, and let's actually solve it rather than score points. Anyway, I want to show you, I won't play, in fact, while you're showing me this next clip, can you dig up, I retweeted it yesterday. I think it was an NBC clip I retweeted. It was Cuomo on the pier saying thanks. So let me show you, actually, if you can get that one first, I want to show that, because that's sort of proof of my point that Andrew Cuomo is actually acting like a grown-up, unlike the squad. He is obviously very concerned and he's hands-on. He's talking on a daily basis either to Trump or Pence or other key people like that fantastic general who's the head of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. He's a great communicator. And the thing about being a clear communicator is you have to be a clear thinker to be a clear communicator. And he speaks so tangibly, the opposite of a pundit. He speaks so concretely. That's how they are. Do you have the NBC clip from? Yeah, okay. So here's Andrew Cuomo on his best behavior. Take a look.
captain who's here. I want to thank the United States Navy that really acted expeditiously in bringing the ship here. I want to thank the Army that is going to help staff the ship. I want to thank the President of the United States, President Trump, who mobilized this effort, and he did it with all rapid speed. This will be 1,000 beds for New York hospitals. It won't treat COVID patients, but it will be a relief valve for hospitals that are struggling now, that are over capacity all across the city. So the 1,000 beds will come in very handy.
Anyhow, I wanted to show you that he wasn't stingy in his gratitude towards Donald Trump. Now, his approval ratings by New Yorkers, I think I saw a poll, was almost 9/11 level, Rudy Giuliani levels. Like, we're talking 90% plus. He's out there, he's being grown up, he's being constructive, hands-on, and who got that Navy ship there? Well, who runs the Navy? The Commander-in-Chief, Donald Trump. And it's in Trump's interest to do that. But unlike, let's say, the governor of Michigan, Cuomo hasn't spent his time quarreling with Trump. So give the man credit where it's due. That was a very un-squad style, wasn't it? Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer couldn't have behaved in a calm, authoritative, can-do manner like that. I want to show you something that I have found amusing despite myself, because I'm a bit of a anti-Democrat, you may have detected, and I don't like CNN much either. But Andrew Cuomo's brother, Chris Cuomo, is a host on CNN. And so in this pandemic, Chris has interviewed brother Andrew, and they've talked about serious matters, but they also get into some brotherly banter. And you know what? I don't like CNN, and I don't like the Democrats, but you have to have a heart of stone not to chuckle at this banter. Now, this is from 2 weeks ago, but I thought it was great TV. I thought it was very funny. And in 24 hours of stress and panic, you can have a couple of minutes of banter. Take a look at this. The two brothers, one the CNN anchor, one the governor of New York. Take a look.
The leader who knows the reality better than any other right now, at least in New York, is the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, of course, my brother. Thank you for coming back to the show.
Mom told me I had to.
So let's do this.
That's
Governor,
nice
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I want specific numbers. Well, then don't. Then don't. If you're
I know, but I have to take
about interrupting
I know,
me, don't
but
interrupt
you have
okay.
a little bit of Pop's
All
gift
right,
where
I'm
you just
saying.
kind of
You know what?
keep
Can
going.
you pull out of this one and get the clip, because it was a funny one, and I'm sorry to throw this at you, but it was who's the favorite. I tweeted it a while back. I can find it. I just want to show you the banter, and the reason I want to show you the banter is not just because it's amusing. There's funnier things out there, but it shows that Andrew Cuomo is not only in charge and on the scene and taking his duties seriously and being nonpartisan, as that Navy welcome scene shows, but that he's got a sense of humor. And why is that relevant? Okay, I can't find it quickly from my own Twitter feed, but because it shows that the guy has banter and a personality that could go head to head with Donald Trump. Okay, here we go. Take a look. Thanks, Justin. I'm throwing you these
caused
curveballs.
much pain, but that's a different story.
I don't believe in rules. Governor Andrew Cuomo, I appreciate you coming on the show. I love you. I'm proud of what you're doing. I know you're working hard for your state, but no matter how hard you're working, there's always time to call Mom. She wants to hear from you, just so you know.
Yeah, I called Mom. Just before I came on the show.
It's not what
By
she
the
said.
way, she said I was her favorite.
She never said
Good news is she said you were her second favorite. Second favorite son,
No.
Christopher.
We both know Neither of us are mom's first or second favorite in the family. I can't believe you're lying to my audience. You've blown the credibility of the entire interview. I should have ended it before.
Second favorite son. Listen to the
I didn't hear
words.
it.
Listen to
Politicians
the
are
words.
very tricky. You throw a word
Yeah.
in there after the first time you said it, creates a lot of doubt. But I
Not me.
appreciate you clarifying.
Not me. Straight across the plate.
Stay strong.
Straight across the plate.
Stay strong. Stay for your people. And I appreciate you being here. I love you, brother.
You too, brother.
You know what? I thought it was funny. And he did another one. I don't know if you want to dig up the other one where they're talking about cooking tomato sauce. It was sort of funny. And the reason okay, here, let's take a look.
Oh, I've had to learn and do stuff with the kids. I don't know why you take your shot at that. I mean, just because you don't cook. I mean, mom shares her secrets about how to make sauce. Very few people. I mean, you shouldn't criticize yourself that you're not one of the people that mom saw as worthy to, teach how to cook and make tomato sauce.
Well, look, I'm sure she would have. It's just that you spent so much more time in the kitchen, Chris, than I did. You were just available to her. You had that always like mom's little helper in the kitchen. I really respect that. So I think it's because you were there and always underfoot.
Yeah, see, I don't see it that way.
You spent years in the kitchen when you think of it.
I don't see it that way. I didn't spend years in the kitchen.
I didn't mean to offend you. I didn't mean to offend you.
Maybe you did, but that's okay. There's no offense taken. There's no offense taken. But what I'm saying is,
please. That you helped mom in the kitchen was a beautiful thing. I had to do work.
I didn't help mom in the kitchen. You're saying something a little different. She taught me things that she chose not to teach you, is what I'm trying to say. You don't have to play the sound.
May I ask you a question?
But hold on one second. You have a moment. I'm having a...
Where are you? Can I ask you, where are you?
I'm in the process of making a point, is where I am. I'm in my basement.
But where are you physically?
I'm in my basement.
You're in your basement.
That's what I just said. Yeah, that's where I am.
Oh, you're in your basement. I see. Well, you spend a lot of time there, right? Christina says she sends you there a lot. So kitchen and basement, that's where you've spent your life. Okay.
Here's what I'm trying to say. I'm in the basement because...
I'm sorry, that's funny. The banter is funny. I'm sure it makes for good ratings. And you know what? Andrew Cuomo answers enough serious questions every day that he can have 5 minutes of banter with his brother. And I'm sure, by the way, it's authentic. I'm sure they do bust each other's chops. But what it shows me is something that we have not seen before. A Democratic politician who is normal, who is not 80 years old Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, not wooden, fake Elizabeth Warren, not losing his mind on TV, early onset dementia, I'm sorry, Joe Biden. A guy who is loved in New York now because he's rising to the moment. I put it to you, Andrew Cuomo checks the boxes. He's got sort of a working class feeling and a style, even though obviously he's a multimillionaire, son of a wealthy and successful family. He still has a little bit of the immigrant aesthetic makes good. He comes across as a tough guy in a way. I mean that in a good way, like Trump in a way. They've got sort of that New York brawling style. He can go head to head. He's got a sense of, can you tell me another Democratic candidate who has a sense of humor? Not Joe Biden. He just panics and throws an insult at someone. And it's not even a funny insult, it's one that sort of makes you cringe. I thought it was funny. I just talked to Mom, and she said I'm her favorite, but the good news is you're the number 2 favorite. That's funny, because it's not too mean, but it's funny enough, and it's the banter. It's almost 1 o'clock. Let me get to the Super Chats. I want to read them because I appreciate the support they give us. But let me close my point there while I'm just looking for the Super Chats. So tomorrow is April Fool's Day, of which Justin Trudeau is the patron saint. That's an eternity between now and November. April, May, June, July, August, September, October. 7 full months and a week. This virus, I think, will be battened down 60 to 90 days from now. Andrew Cuomo, if he stays on this tangent, on this trajectory, I mean, national profile, in command, on the scene, young but not too young, a real Democrat, no one's going to doubt his bona fides, but not a wacko leftist, and a guy, maybe the first Democrat who could go toe-to-toe with Trump, personality-wise. If I had to make a prediction right now, I predict that Andrew Cuomo will be the Democratic Party nominee. Now, how could that possibly happen, you say? He isn't even registered legally. He hasn't participated in any of the caucuses or primaries. Are you saying to me that you don't think the Democrats would do whatever it takes to win? And especially as Joe Biden gets weaker and weaker and worse by the day, and you have this new national hero, young, smart, tough, funny, on the scene, well-liked. You're saying that you don't think the Democrats will change the rules, break the rules, whatever. They do whatever it takes to win. You don't think they're going to swap out old man Joe Biden for Andrew Cuomo? Oh, you are mistaken. I'll take any bets right now. Andrew Cuomo will be the next Democrat nominee. And by the way, he will be tough to beat. All right, let me read some super chats. Slova Morsis Kumpel Louis. I'm trying to read in Russian. €1. Thank you. Floxboo, $10. Thanks. Inf MDA, $5. Hi Ezra, the prediction reference was just a Yogi Berra quote. Just some levity, not a criticism. Stay safe and thank you. I didn't take it as a criticism, don't worry. Karen Dworkin, thank you. Ken Northunder, $10. Thanks for your efforts. Be well. Appreciate that. El Chapacabra, $21. Thank you. Ray W, £10. Do you think the West will still crawl to the Chinese Communist Party after this Trump aside? Yes, yes. And they do so either from an anti-American ideology or, for most of them, just money. And some of them don't want to be called racist. Alex Yelizarov, $5, thank you. Last thing I want is for our government to centralize the distribution of key medical supplies like Taiwan. Libs are corrupt. How do we fight back? Well, yes, I don't want it centralized either. And I think it works in Taiwan because there's a great cohesion there, and they also know they're alone. But I got to tell you right now, I would sure sign up for a prescription model where, I mean, I don't know how much of the government role there. I think it's an agreement between the industrial producers of those masks and the pharmacies and a central database, just so everyone gets enough and no one buys up all of them. Like you can imagine someone could theoretically buy all 10 million face masks a day from Taiwan and sell them for 10 times the price. And how does that benefit anyone? As far as intrusions go, I put it to you that small command and control economy for face masks that they have in Taiwan is vastly superior to the total command and control of the entire economy being done in Canada, the United States, the UK, and other Western countries. I would much rather have the mask industry, frankly, nationalized than the de facto martial law imposed on the entire industry. David Anderson, $10. Ezra, tuned in late. Did you see this Washington Post headline? Centers for Disease Control considering recommending general public wear face coverings in public. Yes, I've seen that reported for several days, and although the CDC denies it, I'm absolutely sure that they're doing the same thing that Canada's doing. They just don't have any masks, so they're lying until it's possible to give the real advice, which is, yeah, get the mask. All right, folks, it's 1:04. I should sign off. Please tune in tonight at 8 p.m. to my produced show every day at 8 p.m. I write out a monologue, I bring video clips, I interview a guest. Who's our guest today? Oh, I didn't hear you. My headphones conked out there. I think it's Joel Pollack. Talk about Andrew Cuomo. I'm very curious about it. All of a sudden, I think I know the solution to the Democrat problem. And if I can figure that out in Toronto, Canada, surely Democrats figured that out long before me. Mark my words, he will be the nominee. And he will be tougher to beat than that loser Joe Biden. I shouldn't even say loser. He's just, don't pick on him. It's even cruel what they're doing to him. All right, folks, until tonight, on behalf of all of us here at Rebel World Headquarters, to you at home, goodbye, stay healthy, and keep fighting for freedom.